Hey guys, this is Communications back again with another review. This time of a film that was requested for me to review a while back by Dustin Keckler. And it's a film another movie from my childhood that I remember enjoying as a kid. I don't really remember if I loved it or not. Camp Nowhere's a film I remember definitely really enjoying, but it's a film that as an adult, like I said, it's entertainment. But Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I don't think I ever loved the film. I just remember watching bits and pieces of it on TV, and probably I watched the best parts, and I didn't watch the rest that dealt with the working girl, boring crap, which happens near the end of the movie. But anyway, this is my review of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. This is a film from I think the early '90s, the early '90s film. This is a film from 1991. It stars Christina Applegate, one of her first big movie roles, hot off of her role in Married with Children. One thing I definitely don't get is this fucking review. It's Home Alone times 5. Really? Home Alone times 5? There is nothing in this film that is at all like Home Alone. It's nothing like Home Alone. There's absolutely nothing in this movie that is remotely close to being like Home Alone. So the director, the guy who wrote this, the reviewer Jeff Craig of 60 Second Preview is a fucking idiot. At least for this review, because there's nothing about this film that is Home Alone, and Home Alone is 10 times better than this movie. Home Alone times 5, my ass. Home Alone is a classic. This is just a take it or leave it type film. This is a time waster at best. Now, and it could have been so much more. It really could have been. I thought it could have been a lot more than that. And a 6.0 is way too high. I honestly would say probably, I'd say I like this just about as much as Camp Nowhere. I'd say it again. I thought I bushwhacked more than this. It's me. Heavyweights is a lot better than this movie. But there's some good things about the film though. Um, I do like the first half. I really do like the first half of the film a lot. I find it to be darkly comic and really fun, and I like the cast. Keith Coogan from Adventures in Babysitting playing this rocker type character named Kenny. Christina Applegate is great. She really is fantastic in the lead role. And as Sue Ellen Crandall, she really is a great character. She's a great actress too. I've always liked her. I liked her in Married with Children. I even liked her in this show that a short-lived show she did on television called I think it was called Up All Night. I thought she was good in that as well, and of course Anchorman and so forth. And even as a younger actress, she's really good here. She really does draw you to the screen. She's gorgeous in this film, so that's a good reason why it's a time waste too. I could stare at her for days, and she's got spunk. She's got personality. She has that movie star quality, and it definitely does show in this film. I just thought the story was just not that interesting. After the babysitter dies, we just get working girl cliches. I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch Working Girl 2. I thought I was watching Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And the direction by Stephen Herek is pretty solid. Stephen Herek is a hit or miss director. I remember him the most as a guy who directed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and The Mighty Ducks, but he also directed Critters, which is a great film. But I wouldn't really say this is one of his best films. I'd say he's done worse, like Holy Man. It's definitely done a lot worse than this, but it's not one I'd call one of my favorites that he's done. But there is a certain charm about this film that is undeniable. And the film was a decent hit. It was made for 10 million and it made 25 million dollars at the box office. And I have to say it's well shot, it's well edited, it's slick. It's got good pacing. For the most part, until the last half, it kind of peters out. because then it's more about she works at this fashion place, this fashion designer place, and they make what is it, uniforms, and she's an executive assistant, and she made up her resume, and then you have this supposedly intriguing subplot that deals with David Duchovny trying and his girlfriend trying to uncover her and trying to pretty much blow it out of the water that she's a fake. That's pretty much it. And the film also opens up with an animated opening sequence. This is funny. I mean, True Beverly Hills has an animated sequence. This has an animated sequence, opening credit sequence. But then it also has normal credits. So it's weird. It has an animated opening credit sequence, but then it goes on with the normal credits, which is really strange. But pretty much the plot is this: you have this family, the Crandall family. You have the mother, Mrs. Crandall, played by Conchetta Tomei, is leaving for a vacation, a 2-week or like a month vacation in Australia. And so she's leaving her kids, and the kids thought that they were going to be left alone, but of course that's not the case. They hire a babysitter who acts like this old, played by Etta Rice Moran as Mrs. Sturek. What's kind of funny is Dan Castanella plays the animated voice of Mrs. Sturek in the animated sequence in the beginning of the film. And so she acts like this nice old lady, but of course once the mother leaves, she's this old bitch. She's an old hag. And she tries to get the rest of the kids to conform to her rules, and the kids don't like that. And the kids are played by Robert Hy Gorman, who plays Christina Applegate's character's younger brother. His character plays Walter. This is Robert Hy Gorman. You might remember him from Leprechaun. He's the kid who said, "Fuck you, Lucky Charms." It's definitely better than Leprechaun. Okay, this is definitely better than Leprechaun. Then again, a lot of movies are better than Leprechaun. And he was also Mr. Nanny. And I'd probably watch this over Mr. Nanny. But then, yeah, maybe not. I haven't seen Mr. Nanny in a while, and I think I might have some dumb fun with that, especially with what's his name? The guy who played what the fuck is his name? From Buster Poindexter. I know the guy has a name. I know the guy has a fucking name. I'm just looking it up right now so I can make sure I got the actor's name. Sorry, my bad. David Johansen. So David Johansen, the guy with the metal plate and over the top acting, I might get a crack out of that, but I don't know. I'd probably go with Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, because smoking hot Christina Applegate over Hulk Hogan in a tutu. I think I'm gonna go with smoking hot Christina Applegate. I think I'm gonna go with that choice. But anyway, Robert Hy Gorman was also in that film. Now, Keith Coogan, he plays the older brother, this kind of rocker, heavy metal guy, kind of a loser, kind of a loner, and his character actually has a story arc where he decides to give a shit about life for once, which is actually pretty good. And you also have Josh Charles, who plays this guy who falls in love with Christina Applegate. He works at this clown dog place where Christina Applegate was trying to work for a little bit, but she couldn't do it. She didn't like cleaning the fat bats and dealing with their overly enthusiastic manager. And then you have Danielle Harris, who actually plays Melissa, her Christina Applegate's younger sister, and she was a lot of fun in this. A little bit that she had, the older babysitter tries to get her to dress like a little girl, and she's kind of a tomboy, and so dresses her up in like pink dress with a pink bow, and she's like, "We need to get rid of this old hag," and definitely. And I think she flips her off too, gives her the middle finger. She's definitely got attitude. And then you have this kid actor who's I guess what happened was this kid actor who plays a character named Zach. He's the older He's the second oldest brother. Christopher Pettit, he was into drugs. I guess he was like into so much drugs while he was in the film, is that the production was almost halted completely near the end of the shooting because of Christopher Pettit's drug use, which is starting to get out of control. The producers ended up cutting a few of his scenes to keep the film on schedule. And Christina Applegate actually gained nearly 10 pounds in order to play the 17-year-old teenager. She lost all that weight soon after filming, ended to continue her role on Married with Children for its 5th season. The original title of the film was actually The Real World, but then this title was changed to avoid confusion with the new MTV reality TV series of the same name. When the movie was released on video, there was a contest where participants would answer a number of questions about the movie related to trivia as well as ratings of the various actors' performances. The winner, whose answers matched up best with an official set, would win the babysitter's car, the one stolen by the drag queens, which is one of the most kind of crazy, dark, sort of weird humor that I enjoyed about the film. But there wasn't enough of those moments. It really should have been more like that, those kind of absurd humor moments. But there wasn't a lot of those because once Christina Applegate got a job at this fashion business, which isn't really a fashion business. It's a business that's making school uniforms and stuff. Got this job as executive assistant. It was just dull. It was really boring, and it wasn't very much fun. And the only time I ever got kind of intrigued was when the soundtrack would start playing. Because the soundtrack is great. If there's one thing about the film I would say is actually really truthfully great, it's the soundtrack. And the film is rated PG-13, so definitely does have a little bit of an edge to it. But it feels a little bit tame, to be honest. It could have had even more of an edge. You had the drag queen stealing the car type stuff. You had the dark humor in the beginning with the babysitter who finally drops dead. And they leave her body, they basically put her dead body in a trunk, and they leave her in front of the funeral home with a note on the front of the trunk that says, "Nice old dead lady inside, died of natural causes." And I guess in one of the earlier drafts of the script, the screenplay, the babysitter's death was supposed to be a more elaborate storyline. The Crandall children were all suspects, and they all had their reasons to kill her. And although certain scenes were scaled down, elements of their motives remain in the final cut of the film. Walter having to do a book report, Melissa forced to wear a dress, and Zach losing Cynthia, his girlfriend, because she pretty much cock blocks him. And I think they should have fleshed that out a little bit more because it seems like it's pretty abrupt. The movie's called "Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead," and the babysitter dies like 10 and 15 minutes into the movie. They could have drawn that out a little bit more, and maybe just focused on that, not this working girl storyline that I don't give two shits about. And I guess one of Sue Ellen's pictures, on her desk at work, two pictures of the kids can be seen. One of Melissa, and the same picture of Melissa was used in Halloween 4. And before Sue Ellen stomps out of Katie's room, she yells, "When are you going to start helping me, you lazy little prick?" But director Stephen Herek decided he didn't want to take any chances of the movie receiving an R rating, so we had the scene fixed for Sue Ellen to call Kenny a lazy little punk instead. Even though it's a PG-13, and I'm pretty sure prick would be okay. But yeah, I remember a lot of there's some fun lines of dialogue. I remember when Kenny's being told to do the dishes, so he uses them like clay pigeons and shoot and shoot. The dishes are done, man. Pretty much, his character is kind of like Spicoli or Pauly Shore, and the reason why she has to go to work makes sense because the old lady, she took all the money, the petty cash that their mother gave them, which is supposed to help them feed themselves while she's away. And so they need money, they need food. So she tries to get a job at the Clown Dog. There she meets Josh Charles. and that starts kind of a relationship between the two, which they have some pretty good chemistry. I actually would have been fine if they fleshed that out more instead of having the working girl bullshit, and just had that. Maybe she still works at the Clown Dog, or maybe she finds some other job, or maybe she still works there, but we focus more on the relationship between her and Josh Charles and trying not to reveal her identity to him because, or her alter ego, I guess, as the Sue Ellen at the like, what is it like? I think there's like a specific name for the place that she works at. Was it like GAW, General Apparel West? And you have uncomfortable scene with John Getz just being a real fucking sleazeball who's trying to get in her pants. And John Getz does a great job, but I don't really want to watch. That's not really entertaining. Um, Joanna Cassidy I liked as Rose. She's her boss at this new place. But when she has to save the company, she comes up with this new school uniforms for that's gonna save the company. She has a whole party and a show at the end, which reminded me of Encino Man, but Encino Man's a better film. Encino Man doesn't really have the same sort of ending. I mean, they don't really have like, oh, we need to save Link, we gotta have a party in the backyard. But I just remember the party in the backyard. But anyway, the clothes, I mean, the fucking clothes that her ideas for fashion, her designs are supposed to save the company. Wouldn't save shit. They're ugly as sin. They're fucking terrible. They're neon colors. They're fucking garish. No teenage girl would be caught dead wearing those shitty looking bellhop outfits, or they look like fucking idiots. They look like fools. They look like complete fucking morons. It's a Those fashions are terrible. It's a fashion disaster. That wouldn't save any company. But of course, it does. The bigwig guys love it, so GAW is saved. But of course, mom comes home early, and so now everybody's busted. But there really isn't a lot of a consequence. It's just, hey, Kenny's not no longer a slacker because of this experience. Oh, Walter fell off the roof, broke his leg one time, and he bought a fucking stereo system, bought an entire entertainment system off of the petty cash. That from Sue Ellen that was able to use from her work, and then she doesn't even get caught for that. Her Rose lets it slide and even gives her an option to still work for the company, but she decides not to because she wants to be a teenager and date her boyfriend. And you know, there's not much of a consequence. They don't get grounded. Nothing really happens. Everything works out happily ever after. So it kind of is. But they find and then before the end credits, you go back to the guys who worked at the morgue, and they're talking about the old lady that they buried, and then liking the money that they took from her. Oh, she was a nice old lady. She gave us money. That's it. It wasn't even that funny. It was like, what was the point of that scene? What was the point of that scene at all? It was completely pointless. But like I said, there's still some fun to be had here. Christina Applegate is definitely a lot of fun to watch. Um, it has a good cast, and it's an entertaining movie for the most part. But it could have been more than that. It's just because there was some fun little sort of stuff where at the end it's interesting. They become the parents pretty much. Kenny and Sue Ellen become their parents like they're a couple, and they even argue over not spending time or not eating the dinner that I made. It's like Kenny becomes a housewife and the working mom, and Sue Ellen is it's like Kenny's like the stay at home mom, and and Sue Ellen is the working dad in the relationship. It's kind of interesting. The stay at home dad, and she's the working mom. You never thought that was going to happen, especially the way Kenny's character was early on in the film. But it's just, it could have been so much better. It needed to flesh out more of the dark the dark humic, the dark humor, humic. I don't even know what the fuck humic is. The dark humor, it needed to be more uh, absurd with the humor. It needed to have more of the kind of craziness of the drag queen stealing the car. I needed to go more in that direction instead of just a very safe, very tame, very lame, very boring last half of the film dealing with Christina Applegate working at a company that makes clothes. It was just not that involving. It wasn't that interesting. And even when it would cut back to the kids, the people at the house, yeah, I'd have some fun with Coogan, but Walter was pretty much, I'm gonna steal money and buy an entertainment system and break my leg. Not much of a character, not much, not much there. Uh, the other guy, well, we know why he didn't have very many scenes because he was high too often, and he wasn't really that much scene. He wasn't really that great anyway. I mean, he was there, but wasn't phenomenal. The soundtrack I love though. It's very memorable soundtrack. Great soundtrack with some really good, great tunes. That I can listen to over and over again. Dragging the Line by Beat Goes Bang, very catchy song. Um, Keep the Faith by Valentine, I really, really enjoy. And Chains is a good song too by Lorraine Lewis. And so yeah, great soundtrack. And nice use of the Twilight Zone theme early in the film. But I yeah, that could sum up my feelings on the film. It'd be like, don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. Uh, yeah, that really could sum up my feelings on the movie. It's there. It's entertaining. It's a time waster. It's average. It's mediocre. That's it. I don't think it's a classic. I don't think it's underrated. I don't think it deserves a 6.0. I think it's a bit overrated in that regard if that's the case. It might have held up better when it came out, but there are a lot of other movies that are a lot better than this, better comedies. There's just a single episode of Married with Children is funnier and better than this entire movie. And you get hot Christina Applegate, but you also get funnier. You get a funnier movie. It wasn't particularly that funny either, so that's another thing that I thought the film was lacking. It could have been funnier. It needed to go with the darker subplot. It needed to go with the dark comic route. It needed to be more absurd with its humor. UHF is an amazing absurd comedy that's hilarious. If it kind of went with that, but then also had a little bit of serious stuff to go along with it, it could be a real standout film. But as it is, it doesn't really stand out. The title was the most memorable thing about the film, and Christina Applegate and the soundtrack. Other than that, it's not that amazing. It's not that spectacular. It's not even the best film out there. And that's just my opinion. And I used to really like the film growing up, but as an adult, it just does not hold up nearly as well as it did when I was a kid. It just is, the last half is just snooze inducing. I want to fall asleep. I don't want to watch Working Girl 2. Anyway, I really don't know what to say about the film except it was rated out of 5 stars. 3. I said an average film, I give it 3 out of 5 because it could have been more than that if it had a stronger second half. But the second half is just not strong to me because I don't care. It's not interesting. It's boring. So, and there's not much of a resolution at the end. It's not particularly funny either. The first half, the first 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes or so are fun, likable characters, they're entertaining, it's got an edge to it, and then it just drops it, and then is Working Girl 2, and I don't give a shit. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, and I will see you guys later. See ya.